Welcome back. Amos Yadlin, the only person on the planet to have played a lead role in the destruction of 2 nuclear reactors, one as an F-16 pilot in 1981 in Iraq, and the other as head of military intelligence in Syria in the 2007 attack. We'll speak to him shortly, but first, here's a quick look at his very distinguished career.
Very few around the world match Amos Yadlin's ability to assess the costs and benefits of the Iranian nuclear deal, or the options for rolling back the threat, should the new government in Washington opt out of the multinationally negotiated accord. A retired Israeli Air Force general, Yadlin played a key role in the destruction of 2 nuclear reactors during his 40-year career in uniform. The first in 1981 as a fighter pilot sent to bomb Iraq's Osirak reactor.
We decided to act now, before it is too late. We shall defend our people with all the means at our disposal.
The second incident was an attack on a reactor in Syrian territory, which occurred in September 2007 during Yadlin's term as head of Israeli military intelligence. The strike was widely attributed to Israel. A former Israeli defense attaché to Washington, Yadlin knows his way around the Pentagon and Capitol Hill. He understands the importance of retaining a credible military option, but at the same time appreciates the limits of force.
What is your plan B if an agreement cannot be reached?
The pressure that we've been applying on them and the options that I've made clear I can avail myself of, including a military option, is one that we would consider and prepare for.
Now head of the Institute for National Security Studies, a respected Tel Aviv think tank, Yadlin is urging the Israeli government to take advantage of the 10 to 15-year respite afforded by the deal in order to build up the political, intelligence, and operational clout to thwart a potential Iranian breakout to the bomb. During the last Israeli election cycle, Yadlin was selected as the candidate for defense minister by the Labor Party. Amos Yadlin, fighter pilot, educator, intelligence analyst, and shadow defense minister.
Amos, again, welcome to Strictly Security. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure as well.
So, the Iranian nuclear deal is now in its 2nd year of implementation. Is there cause for celebration, or is this a matter of perhaps short-term gain for potential long-term pain?
Yeah, I think the Iranians should celebrate because they got a good deal for them. When I analyzed the deal in the summer of 2015, I have said it's a very problematic deal for Israel. It's a very problematic deal for the Saudis. It's a very problematic deal for the free world. But I said in the first years, until year 8, year 10, the deal is not that bad. It's not A, they were not removed to 0 nuclear capabilities. It is not B, they were not removed or rolled back 3 years. They were rolled back a year. And if they stay there for 8 or 10 years, it's the bright side of the deal. In the long run, Iran is getting a legitimacy for a full-scale nuclear program.
Right.
Unlimited.
Right.
0 distance from the bomb. And this is not General Yadlin. It's not Prime Minister Netanyahu. It's Obama, President Obama saying. And there is the non-nuclear behavior of Iran, which is not in the deal.
Right, right.
Starting from ballistic missiles to terror organization support, to human rights violation, all these issues the Iranians...
Never part of the deal.
The Iranians are celebrating.
We all know President Trump's stated intention to rip up or renegotiate the deal, something that his defense secretary is firmly opposed to. Now, you have suggested something on the lines of a parallel deal between the United States and Israel to identify and prepare for and possibly act on the re-emergence of Iranian nuclear threat. How would that work?
In the summer of 2015, Israel, or the Prime Minister of Israel,
yes,
fought the deal on the Hill, which was a mistake. I think instead of it, we should have done, and we have now a second opportunity, to go to the US and reach an agreement between the two of us. Because Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Obama share the same goal, that Iran will not have a nuclear bomb. However, the Prime Minister thinks that the only way to do it is by tough sanctions and a military attack, and the President thinks that an agreement will do it. So my advice to the Prime Minister was, you can go in the track of the president, but make sure that it reach the right destination by an agreement between the two of us. That
intelligence sharing, enforcement mechanisms, so that there won't be any surprises.
Yeah, and prepare for the worst, hope for the good, and prepare for an Iranian breakout,
right.
Or at the end of the agreement, Iranian regime, the same regime, calling to wipe Israel off the map with nuclear weapon, unacceptable.
Right.
Let's agree on that.
Right. Now, who better than you knows the benefits and the limitations in the use of force? How should Israel be working specifically with the United States and other world powers to preserve this so-called credible military option?
Yeah, you touch exactly the word, credible. Because what the Iranians are thinking now, today, in Tehran, or at least as long as the previous administration was in place, that the Americans have the capability to destroy their program, but don't have the will. The Israelis have the will, but don't have the capability.
Right.
So let's make sure that the Iranians think that the US has the will on top of their capabilities, and Israel have the capabilities on top of their will.
We'll be right back with more from Amos Yadlin and our regular By the Numbers feature, where we break down exceedingly complex issues into relatively simple numerical benchmarks. This week, 98, 2/3, 15, and 1,000. Stay tuned to find out what those numbers tell us. We're back, and thanks for staying with us. Before the break, we were talking to the former head of Israeli military intelligence, Amos Yadlin, about the implementation of the Iranian nuclear deal. We asked how the Trump administration can work around a done and signed deal. Here's the second part of that interview.
The deal is not a treaty. It's a joint plan of action. And I think we have a wonderful opportunity with the Trump administration that is not committed to the deal. On the contrary, they think that this is a very problematic deal.
Right.
So they can behave differently on at least two areas. One is the gray areas in the deal itself. There is some language that can be interpreted both sides. So the Trump administration can be very tough on the Iranians. Don't let them use loopholes as they have done in the past. And we know that the Iranians all the time are concealing, cheating, taking any opportunity that they can find to bypass the deal. So be very tough on them on this. On the other hand, when you have the non-nuclear activities of Iran that are not included in the deal, I think the Trump administration can be much more tougher in its reaction.
Without causing Iran to walk to abrogate its part of the deal.
If somebody has to walk out of this deal from legitimacy consideration, to have the rest of the P5+1 with America, you better make the Iranians walk out of the deal and not the Americans.
Right, right. Amos, let's go to the region writ large, and especially how do you expect the Trump administration to act in terms of reasserting itself in the Middle East?
First of all, his very close advisors and secretaries will have to sit down and decide whether they want to take leadership role again in the Middle East. Yeah. Because at the end of the Obama administration, basically all the Americans' allies felt that somehow they were neglected, yes. They were deserted, they were put under the bus, thrown under the bus.
Right.
Egypt, Turkey, the Saudis, the Israelis. So it's time to take leadership again. Okay. Whether President Trump willing to take leadership, I'm not sure. In some of his campaign rhetoric, yes. He is going back to America. To deal with America, to make America again domestically.
So we'll have to wait and see how he acts. But on Syria, Israel's prime interest there is to prevent Iran and Hezbollah from opening up a direct new front on the Golan Heights.
You know, Israel created a very efficient deconfliction system with the Russians.
Which has managed to thwart
we
clashes
haven't
in the
shot
air.
down their airplane like the Turks.
Yes, yeah.
But this is on the tactical level. On the strategic level, Israel should make the Russians understand and appreciate that this is a very important national security issue for Israel. And when Israel is saying we have a very important national security issue, I think the Russians are listening. And you know, Israel created some red lines in Syria.
Very familiar red lines.
If anybody fire at Israel, we fire back. Whoever fire. If we see advanced weapon moving to Hezbollah, accurate and precise ballistic missiles, UAVs, a chemical weapon, advanced air defense, somebody attacked these convoys.
Right, and the Russians acknowledge that.
And some of it is a Russian weapon, which is not given directly to Hezbollah, but the weapon to Hezbollah comes through Iran or through Syria. So Israel can add to its red line, and maybe it's already there, that Hezbollah and
Iran, of course.
And Iran presence in the Golan Heights is unacceptable. It's a red line.
Amos, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.